We experience corruption with politicians. How can you have a nerve to chow 500 billion and that money is untraceable?
Yeah.
Then you say, no, kings are corrupt. Ever since we were ruled by politics here, there's been corruption in South Africa. During the time of Utata, corruption. During Iskati Skambe, corruption. Look at all these people who are serving these presidents. They're all billionaires. Where do they get that money in such a short space of time?
What value do you bring in a relationship? Be it work, be it business, or even intimate. Don't be in a relationship if you have nothing to offer. In fact, the only reason why you should be in a relationship should be because you've got so much to offer than you want to get in a relationship. What do you bring to the table? Because if you are not on the table, you are in the menu. And if you are in the menu, it means decisions are taken for you and about you. You cannot be the table because the table belongs to everyone. That is why I'm challenging you to bring some sort of value in any relationship that you are engaged in. Contribute something positive. Let the other person be better because of you. And value can come in many forms other than just money. Don't just be excited to be a trophy or to be a symbol of accomplishment. Ladies and gentlemen, it's such a great honor. Once more, I'm so excited to be talking to an amazing human being that I've been so blessed to meet many years back. He's the keeper of African knowledge and African wisdom. He's the founder of the great empire of Kemet. He's been telling me that there's also the University of Truth. And he's the CEO of the Zenzi Mandela Foundation. But most importantly, he's the advocate. He's an advocate of African knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Mkhulu Nsingiza. Thokoza Mkhulu.
Thokoza.
How are you doing, Mkhulu? You're looking so good.
Thank you.
You're getting younger and younger.
I know. Msebenzi, when you are always busy, I think, even your body, aligns to that.
Yeah.
You get older when you are no longer active.
Yeah.
Because you are no longer active and doing something. So for us, there's so much to do.
Yeah.
There's no time to rest.
Yeah.
We try and do whatever we can whilst we're still, alive.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the things, Mkhulu, we've done many shows together. It's been a while. We haven't spoken since the passing of Mocholoka,
yes,
Dr. Zulu, yes. Matabo
Zulu.
Yes. I want us to start by looking at the times, Mkhulu, because we are to give us the wisdom on the time that we find ourselves in. From a spiritual perspective, it feels like there's a shift happening in the universe. It has been defined by so many people. Other people may call it the quantum global shift of the brain or a shift in global consciousness. But the truth is something is happening. In politics, things are changing.
No, sure.
Business, the education is changing. Spiritually, how would you explain it to us, the time that we're going through right now?
We are in that cycle of change. Mostly we would call it, we're entering the great year, that is a revolution guided either by the movement of Sirius Star, after so many cycles, it reaches a certain point. They say that after 100 and something years, there's always a change.
Yeah.
Right? Meaning that we are moving from a period that was, under the principle we called Pisces or Set. According to the African calendar, we are moving out of the domain of Set, the principle of chaos, destruction, right? We are entering now, according to the African calendar, into the age of Ma'at. If you understand Ma'at,
yes.
it's the age of truth, balance, harmony, justice.
Yeah.
Right? So we are in that cycle. A lot of people still are not able to interpret what is happening and what time it is, what it is that we're supposed to do. A lot of people seem to be resisting the change. Change doesn't happen only in the electromagnetic field of Earth, but change, just affects everything. Even our planet. That's why you'll find there's so many fires, so many, earthquakes, because that change, it erupts, a lot of things. So therefore, whether politics or business, things are changing, which is why we are pushing for the destruction of the Republic of South Africa, because this is what a system that was formed during the period of chaos. It was ruled by Set, the principle of chaos. Now we're entering Ma'at. Things have got to revert back, to the original blueprint, especially for African people. We are going to get everything that we lost, and also our consciousness, it's on the rise. It's not because of anybody, it's just spiritual. We've reached that cycle of a higher consciousness, so it's affecting a lot of Africans, but those that understand the situation will easily harmonize. But there will be those that are affected by cognitive dissonance, where they see the truth, they feel the truth, but they still resist because of an instilled belief system that this, things are like this. Meaning those are people that are going to be affected negatively. But, people who are conscious about the time that we are in, we are just going to cruise, normally.
I'm asking this question because it's very important, Mkhulu, and thank you for expanding it on that. I mean, even for people, whether you are conscious or not, everyone can feel, but there's something happening.
No, sure.
You look at the effects of technology now into the world, the type of food that we eat, everything. You are feeling this thing. Now we're going into the era of robotics, nanotechnology. And I mean, I was talking with my friends to say, when we were growing up, your immediate aim as a sign of success was to move from the village to go to a township, and then from a township to a suburb. But now it's actually the opposite.
The reverse.
Yes, those who are in the suburbs, they want to go to the village, to the plots. Things like that. Where people now want to get rid of the phones. You want time. But now, what does these times mean, Mkhulu? Is this shift only happening in Africa, or it is throughout the world?
It's global. It's global. The age of Ma'at is the age of technology. As much as we appreciate the artificial intelligence, we also believe that our natural intelligence is going to open up. We'll be able to do things that we're not able to do naturally, like telepathy. We won't need phones in the near future. We'll be able to communicate telepathically. We won't need planes in the future. We'll revert back to the natural science, where even our belief system changes, because we stop identifying ourselves with this physical body, because we are not this physical body. We are spirit.
Yeah.
You know,
In a physical experience.
yes,
Yeah.
and when you are spirit, you then understand the concept of quantum entanglement, meaning that an atom here can affect an atom in America.
Yeah.
Because we are all connected, you know.
But then for African people, what does it mean? You mentioned, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, the Dogon people, they have always, spoke about the star Ceres. What does it mean for African people?
It's a new dawn.
Yeah.
It's a new dawn that we need to embrace. You see, the 3 countries in West Africa, they're affected by that spirit, the spirit of change.
Yeah.
You know, Africa has got to embrace change. You know, we are moving from servitude into kings and queens again. You know, the owners of the land, the parents of humanity. That is slowly creeping in, you know, and everything that we lost is going to be returned, and it will be returned sometimes without us even, lifting a finger.
Yeah.
So naturally, things are, harmonizing.
Yeah.
You know, and what I normally say to people, this is the age of art of truth. You've got to live the truth. Everything that you do, and every idea that you emerge with, you know, it has got to create harmony. Otherwise, it won't be sustainable. You know, these things that you develop technology for the destruction of the world and humanity, that ideology is dead now.
Yeah.
You know, we are moving towards harmony. You know, all these world governments are going to fall.
Yeah.
You know, look at America. It's slowly declining. The boss of the world is slowly declining. Here is BRICS. BRICS challenging America in terms of the currency.
Yeah.
And what a BRICS comes up with, it's more sustainable because it's a currency that is backed, you know, by commodities, either gold, platinum, whatever resources we have.
Yeah.
We have so many resources. So we've got to embrace change like Abu Tabur. Utaure in less than 2 years.
Yeah.
He has transformed Burkina Faso,
Yeah.
you know, into something that gives hope to people that at least a revolution, true revolution, has now happened. Now they've moved from a position of defense. Yes, they're still defending because they're still trying to kill them,
Yeah.
but they're developing. He's launching new things every day.
Yeah.
And remember, Burkina Faso was regarded as the poorest,
True.
you know, country on the continent. But is proving to be wealthier.
Yeah.
Why? Because that wealth was hidden by the theft, you know, by colonizers.
Now, here's something interesting, Mkhulu. You know, for the past 10 to 15 years, I've been talking about the quantum global shift, the shift in global consciousness, because we could feel something is shifting. That power is moving away from politicians into civil rights movement and into societies. I mean, let's take America for example, where America, the person who Donald Trump at the helm of American office, he's not a politician. Look at how the partnership is a business person, how the Elon Musk now is influencing government. So it means power has shifted from politicians and now it's going into civil rights, it's going into individuals. But you also look into the religious spaces. There are sermons that were bad. They would never be delivered within the church, but they are now accepted in churches today. You look at now the language and the posture of the Pope has changed completely about the issues of religion and the direction of the Vatican. So surely this change is happening. Now, you mentioned in Burkina Faso, Do African leaders sense this change? Do they see it? Because it looks like they don't. Because if they knew, they would ride on this wave of change that is happening.
No, they see it. They ignore it deliberately because they are still controlled, captured. You know, Traore and those three other guys, they've liberated themselves from the colonizer. They've stopped being dependent on the colonizer. They know that Africa has got everything. You know, it just needs bold leaders, you know, for Africa to completely transform. So they ignore. So, with regard to the change of power, moving from politics, this is what should happen here, which is what we've been advocating for. The restoration of our royal governing system. You know, this is what will give us a permanent, you know, a bright future.
Yeah.
Why? Because politicians are controlled by colonizers, all of them. They work for white people.
Yeah.
So therefore, power has got to revert back to where it was. You know, before, remember that the land was taken from kings and queens. There were no political formations. But now, when it's supposed to be returning, which they lied to us, you know, it was 1994, it wasn't a return of the land, but it was, you know, more compromise. In terms of it, because they allowed the colonizer to retain the land and the economy. So there was no, and still there is no true liberation and true transformation. As an example, South Africa is very rich in terms of resources. You know, South Africans should be wealthy people. You know, if we had wise and visionary, you know, leaders who are not serving, you know, their own interest and their immediate family, but who are serving the nation. And we could never get that from politicians because politicians are corrupt to the core. All of them. You know, they are there to make sure that they satisfy, you know, their individual needs, not, you know, for the benefit. Instead, they support the colonizer. The people who still hold our land and our economy, they are by default working for those people against the majority of them. Because there's no reason. We are going for 30 years now, huh? But the poverty is still like that, as it was in 94.
Even worse.
You know, even worse. Because now it's very difficult for you to identify the enemy. The enemy, you know, it's now very, very difficult to, you know, identify because the very same people who look like you, who come to you every 4 or 5 years and tell you lies, you know, and giving you hope, you know, knowing very well that they are not going to deliver on anything. So that period, that's why politics is behaving the way it is. Because it's slowly losing power and it's slowly losing a mandate, you know, for them to rule over us. The first thing, they were not supposed to rule over us. We are supposed to have leaders, not rulers. These people rule us, right? They don't lead us. The people who led us are our royals, Amakosi, because they had a vested interest. We shared the same blood with these people. So if they betray their own people, you know, they know what they didn't violate only for the physical, you know, people who are existing, but also the ancestors. The ancestors are watching everything. And these are the people, you know, this invisible force that is operating in our universe is bringing a true transformation. So it's a question of us, you know, asking ourselves, are we ready for the transformation?
You talking about the era of chaos. And we see chaos, I don't know, maybe I see it as chaos within African spirituality itself. or maybe it's inside, it defines itself within the African spirituality, where there's chaos, Mkhulu. And I know you understand, where you've got people who are going to Twasa and they were not supposed to Twasa, who are doing so many things, even some of the things that were held sacred within the African tradition. It's hard for people now to guess which one is right.
Yeah.
What do you say about that chaos within, where now it's like it's a clown, it's a joke, it's a fashion? What are your thoughts on that?
Normally there's chaos, meaning that order is birthed out of chaos.
Mm-hmm. True.
There has to be chaos before order, is established. So it's very chaotic now and untrustworthy.
Yeah.
Defiling, the sacred, craft of our ancestors. It's a very, very, very sacred craft.
Yeah.
That was respected. Why? Because it's controlled by the invisible force. Now people are no longer, ngesizulu sithi abaseke emoyeni, sebesenyameni, using this sacred craft to make money. And I've always defined ubunyanga not as a business. Ubunyanga must be kept pure. We are humble Twasa so that your natural powers, are activated. So that you do ubunyanga no bungoma with sincerity, truth, and purity. Then you use this space for you to launch a project on the side, right? So that these are generating, projects. They generate income for you.
Yeah.
You could be selling something, you could be doing whatever, but make sure that you don't depend on this as your source of income, because sometimes people come here without any money. So you need to be ready for that situation, but you need to survive, which is why I encourage people, have businesses on the side that you request from the ancestors to support.
But it's a very difficult one, Mkhulu, because others would argue, I'm given this gift for me to live out of it. I'm a young person, I'm supposed to live, because in time past, there's been a confusion that a healer must be poor, a healer must be stinking, not dirty, or all things. So healing has always been associated with poverty, and which I don't believe it's supposed to be like that. But now young people are arguing, this is a gift that I must live out of it. But here's the catch. We can no longer differentiate. I mean, now you've got pastors in the churches who are selling water, holy water, and so many other things to make rich. We've got healers who are now hustlers.
That's true.
So where do we draw the balance?
It's not supposed to be like that. As I explained it, now you have this spiritual power, right?
Yeah.
Right? Your ancestors are woke. They are with you. When you ask them something, they give you, right? But now you can't make this one your source of income. This can be your business. This you're supposed to do even without expecting a cent. What you expect from this one is to be thanked by the person's ancestors. Because
so it can be compared with a medical doctor.
No.
What to say?
No. It can be compared. You can't be. I hear about Bangoma, Nenyanga posting up the wealthiest Sangoma, and all that. It's not supposed to be like that. This is supposed to be pure, to a point that if somebody comes here, I'm gonna send, you must be able to assist them, but use the power of your ancestors to channel them into other things that will generate income for you. That is why the craft is corrupted, because we've turned it into a business. Here you're supposed to heal. Look at you, Bob Credo.
Yeah.
Was he wealthy? Was he not happy?
Not in material. Yeah.
Yes, spiritually was
Yeah.
the trillionaire, Babu Credo.
True.
This is the attitude to have with regard to Bunyanga, Nobungoma.
But then, Mkhulu, people would argue, you mentioned Baba Credo, who would say, but he died, he died a poor man.
Yes.
Yeah, he said
he wasn't.
yeah, he died but we don't want that. That's the thing
no.
that we do not want that.
He was satisfied with that. Ubaba could have been a billionaire, but he had no aspirations, money and material things for him.
Yeah. Okay, maybe, Mkhulu, do we have a challenge? Maybe one of the subject, I don't know, in African consciousness to incorporate is spirituality and wealth. Is there a gap between the two? Because
you're not supposed to compare the two or combine.
To incorporate, to combine.
You need to do the spiritual work. Then wait for your ancestors to thank you. Because when they thank you, you forget.
But if they don't come, like I'm saying, I mean, you look at some of the Indumbas, where these people are waking from, it's unfair. And you're talking Baba Credo. I mean, when I visited Baba Credo, Mama Viji was not happy about the land that was dispossessed from Baba. Baba Credo had farms in Machalis and other points, which he should have enjoyed. I mean, the museum, you've been in his house in Kuruman. He should have been somewhere in a farm enjoying that, listen, but he did not have that. Is it not the point that young people must actually correct the discourse?
No. Look at me. Mtwasile mina. I aspire to be a trillionaire as well. But I'm not going to dent my craft where now I start demanding money.
Yes.
I teach people this knowledge for free. There are people who teach this knowledge and people pay. There's a difference. Mina, I ngibonga amadlozi in different ways. You know why? Because I'm not looking at this as a money generating. If I was looking at this as a money generating, I'll be a billionaire by now.
Yeah.
Because each and everything I will be doing, I'll be charging people. But I don't do that. Yeah. I do this and maintain the purity of this so that Amadlozi can support me in other ventures that I do. Do you understand? So I'm the typical example of that. I'm not talking about something I don't do.
Yeah.
Mtwasile Nampat, I had that consciousness that whatever spiritual work, it has got to retain its purity.
Yeah.
Then out of that, you launch it on the side. You request the very same ancestors, would you please assist me here so that I'm able to put food on the table. Never corrupt this. Because once you corrupt this, you're gone. You are now a materialistic person. And you're not supposed to be a materialistic person because what will lead to that is that when you come to me, I first look at the car you drive.
200,
right? Then, automatically I calculate.
Yes.
This guy has got to live 10,000 here.
Yeah.
I plan for you. Where's the spirit there? There's no spirit there.
Yeah.
You usenyamen and you are doing the spiritual work. So I don't want that corruption in my life.
Yeah. I will never let you go, Mkhulu, or I will never meet with you and not talk about the calendar.
Yes.
Because our concept of time is centered around the calendar.
Yes.
In fact, when you look at all the highly successful ancient civilizations, at the center of them, it was their understanding of time. When we are divorced from our concept of time, what happens to us as a people when we are just moving and we are detached from our concept of time? How can nature support us when we have moved away from...
We can never be normal. Is Africa normal?
No, it's not.
It's not normal because it's misaligned. Is Europe normal? It is because the leaders, are aligned.
True.
White people align. with the calendar, their calendar.
Yeah.
You see, on the 23rd of March, it was the new year for the Northern Hemisphere. But only leaders in this, Northern Hemisphere align and leave the people to believe that the new year it's on the 1st of, January.
Yeah.
So that's a sick mentality. You meaning that it's only leadership that should be aligned so that they leave the majority of the people vulnerable for control, right? So therefore, Africa can never, never, never be normal. You can never be normal when you are going against the natural flow of energy. Meaning, Guti, everything that you do is misaligned.
Yeah.
And remember that in life, timing is everything.
Yeah.
Everything has got to be timed properly.
I like what you're saying, the natural flow of energy.
Yes.
I mean, the confusion, Mkhulu, because it's about when do we plant?
That's the thing.
When do we start projects?
Yeah, it's all about that.
When do we start families? Like everything as a nation, it means there's a discord. We are misaligned into what we are doing. Even our offerings, our sacrifices.
Yes, rituals.
We don't know when is the proper time.
No, sure.
I mean, the ancient Egyptian civilization, the Kemet.
Ancient
Kemet, yes.
Not Egypt, it's Greek.
Yeah. That's why I'm correcting myself. I know I'm with you. So
Egypt is associated with colonization.
Yeah. You look at the Maya civilization. You look at the Sumer civilization. All of them, yes. It's always around the issue of time. Now, in a practical sense, a person who there's nothing we can do, December, the budget has been loaded right now, April is the beginning of a financial year in many institutions. As an individual, what do you do personally to make sure that you align with the natural flow of time?
Oh no, personally as an individual, if you are a woke African, you will know, Guti, on the 21st of March, this is when the separation between spirit and, matter happens. Meaning that the confinement of the sun, because the sun has departed from the southern hemisphere, meaning that I'm no longer supposed to be doing things that are physical, right? I need to focus more on spiritual matters, because this is the period when we are strong spiritually and mentally.
Yes.
In our teachings, we normally encourage people to now start creating things with their mind. If you want a house, start inputting those pictures, clear pictures of the house that you want. Look at it, go to each and room. If it's a car, see yourself in your mind, because you are powerful now mentally, because you are governed by master magician Osset. The principle that governs the time now until September is Osset, right? So therefore, Osset gives us that ability to create with our minds and invoke the emotion, right? The thought and the emotion, developing the wisdom of the heart, where you harmonize your thoughts with your emotions. Then a stronger emotion and a clear picture is definitely going to manifest. Whatever you see, and you keep repeating. I normally say that a Muslim carry what is called the prayer beats.
True.
As they are pushing one by one,
yeah.
they are repeating something in their heads.
It's a mantra.
So that it roots itself in their subconscious. Because once it's rooted in your subconscious, automatically nature will bring it to you the way it was in the subconscious. If you are allowing negativity to root during this period in your subconscious, negative things are going to manifest.
We know from the ancient civilizations where people had understood this time we do this ritual. This time is for this ritual. This time we welcome our ancestors. This time we're doing this. Now, I want your view on this, Mkhulu. What's your view on, should we create communities as African people, communities of like-minded people, or should we challenge the system?
Oh, we challenge the system. We challenge the system by teaching our people. What we are talking about, this, the ceremonies and rituals and their timing, we are living it. From doing a ceremony and a ritual, that marks which is a Western marker, 4 cardinal points: east, west, north, south. So we are from a ceremony that marks, the Western cardinal point.
But is it not easy? And I mean, there's the kind of this December as the Gregorian calendar. There's this big ceremony. The Africans are celebrating Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
Is it not better to create communities? Because now we align our activities with the proper calendar of the African people. Unlike the system is too big, we won't have great impact, but we can have impact from within these communities.
No, we don't create separate communities. This must be a nation, because normally these ceremonies and rituals, they are national prayers. It can't just be done by Xhosas or done by Zulus or done by vendors only. These, when we mark these 4 cardinal points, like Eswazini, Mkhosi womhlanga, it's a must. Whether you are Chinese, whether you are Jew, whether you are what, you have to partake. Nomkhosi wencwala in December, you have to partake in those, right? But now you can't give people option. Why? Because these are natural. These are prayers for the nation to be well and progress. So it has got to be because it's just one day, maybe one day after every 3 months.
Are you not impressed by the Muslims who coexist with us and everyone else, but they follow their own calendar?
Oh, no, I'm impressed. This is what
a national mandate.
This is what I want black people to do.
Yeah. But then Muslims don't wait for government to proclaim or to adopt their calendar.
We are not waiting for government. We are a movement ourselves that is doing it and showing it what should be done.
Yeah.
Slowly black people are being conscious, not only here, internationally. We sell the calendar now internationally, in Jamaica, in Barbados, in Haiti, everywhere. Yeah. Black people are now being united using this calendar. So this is what I mean, that you need to come up with a tactic and a strategy and a plan that covers everybody. Then it will then depend on the timing of their consciousness. We are not saying people are not joining us because they don't want. Most of them, they are not aware. It's ignorance of this calendar. But the minute they get the message about the calendar, they automatically follow because they are ikazi labo, umoya wabo agrees, with what is spoken.
It's been 5 years since the passing or the transcendence of Baba Credo Mutwa. How do we honor him, Mkhulu?
Well, Nakesha, it's a very difficult because it's not only Babu Credo, no Mamwini.
Yes.
Those are people I feel so hurt that they are not given the attention, that they deserve.
Yeah.
And it's all about politics.
Yeah.
The people around Babu Credo, maybe they have their own thing, because you can't then want to jump the gun and want to overtake people. there are people who run foundation Gabab Credo.
Yeah.
And these are people should be pushing for that. They have access to resources.
But they want money from the master. That's another challenge that we spoke about.
No.
The foundation, the
No.
master
No.
has now to give the money and to come with conditions.
No, we celebrate Baba without any money. You don't need money. You just need to gather people wherever they are. And you talk about Baba. You don't need money.
The Credo consciousness, how do we make sure that it infiltrates every family, at least in South Africa? We know it should be throughout the world because he was a global icon. How do we make sure that the Credo consciousness reaches everyone?
Oh, no, we are on that path. Remember, it can never be an event.
Yeah.
It's a process. It's a process of decolonization, which should have been a responsibility of government to decolonize the nation. Because whatever Obaba was teaching is African philosophy.
Yeah.
We need to decolonize the nation and teach African philosophy. Then it will live in each and every home. It can't just be an event. We have initiated that process, and I think we are on the path of reaching there slowly. Remember that it's a new thing to many people. Even just to hear about Ubab Credo, they've never heard because he was never promoted by powers that be. So therefore, you allow the process to unfold naturally.
Yeah.
Which is why in our foundation movement, we are not about numbers, and we don't want membership, right? Why? Because it's a black thing. All Africans belong to the great empire of Kemet.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's a slow process. We say to people that sifuna abantu abanesabelo kuqala. Abantu abazolethwa umoya. When you hear just an expression, then it ignites something within you. You are definitely going to be interested and follow. Those are people we want, not somebody that we don't convert people. That's what we say. If you don't hear what we are saying, the message, it's not time for you. That your time will come. We are not rejecting you or rubbing you off. Your time hasn't come for you to reach this consciousness.
What should Credo Mutwa, not the person, the institution, the consciousness mean to black people? What should it mean?
It means that we are independent in terms of content, right? We don't need foreign content. We are completely independent. This is what Ubabu Credo, has exposed. He taught Uguti there's no content that has more literature than Africa. So therefore, it means Uguti, the future of education, which is why we started the Kemet University of Truth, because he lamented the poor quality of education system that we get from the Westerners. Remember the history of Western education system. Rockefeller.
Yes,
they started, this education system. They are the people who promoted. And the reason they started, they wanted workers, people that are going to implement, not a thing, right? So now, African education system, it focuses on the internal. What you were born with naturally, it polishes that so that it gives you grounding. Once you are grounded on who you are, you can then venture into other things. Not to be a slave, where you operate as a robot. You go and learn how to operate a economic system based on what you were taught, not what your ideas could be.
Yeah.
Because once you implement your ideas, you are fired. You've moved away from the model of the company or the country. So therefore, we need to deal away with all that, go back to really teaching, because even education itself, It means that you must bring something from within outward, not for you to bring something from outward inside.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
So this is what African education, system, means, and it's all everything that was taught by Credo.
In your view, what is the enemy of a black man today?
The enemy of black people is white people and politicians. These are two enemies of black people. White people who are refusing with our resources, who are keeping us in this squalor and poverty, and politicians who are selling us, for their own benefit, self-preservation. So these are two enemies of black people today.
So you don't believe there could be a conscious political...
Never. You can't be...
No chance.
You can't be conscious as a politician if you are serving a rotten system.
But we've got political parties who are saying if we come into power, we will go with African consciousness.
Never. Not within the confines of a Western, created a Western
political system. Yeah.
They can change, and how long I've been telling all of them have been telling us that story. When I go in, then the minute they are appointed as a president, you're voted in as president, they run to the colonizer to say, colonizer, I'm not going to touch your interests. Be comfortable with me. So no politician will ever deliver liberty, total freedom for black people.
In fact, I was watching one interview. Somebody was saying even when ANC was founded 1912, African National Congress, and the person was asking today, what is African about the ANC today?
Same thing as GA.
So basically, yeah.
Same. That's why, they went to a GNU.
Yeah.
Because they have same policies. There is no difference between DNA and ANC. They are both serving one person.
One master. Yeah.
The person that funds all of them. Funds DAs, funds a PAC, funds all of them. All political parties, are sellouts.
Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, as Lord Acton said. Even African leaders, are you not afraid that they'll be corrupted?
Who?
African spiritualists who are conscious. If we go back to the royalty rule, are you not afraid that they've been corrupted actually?
Corrupted by who? Corrupted by colonizers because they wanted to trash them. You can't, come with proof that so-and-so was corrupt. What do you mean by corrupt? Because a person who is a custodian of the whole land, how can they be corrupt? Because his own role is to make sure that the community is sustainable and fed. That's the main role of the king, and to keep harmony and balance between the sun, moon, and the royal house and the community there. So how can you be corrupt if your foundation is spirituality? Of course, is founded on the basis of spirituality. That's why Amakosi Bewetwasa, you had to go to an initiation for you to be able to understand the laws that govern the universe so that you keep the harmony between what is above and what is below. So it's white people who are instilling Uguti, our kings and queens were corrupt. We experience corruption with politicians. How can you have a nerve to chow 500 billion and that money is untraceable?
Yeah.
Then you say, no, kings are corrupt. Ever since we were ruled by politics here, there's been corruption in South Africa. During the time of Utata, corruption. During Iskati Skambe, corruption. Look at all these people who are serving these presidents. They're all billionaires. Where do they get that money in such a short space of time?
What are your views on homelands? More and more people now are saying homelands were good.
Homelands.
What are you saying?
No.
People will mention Buputatswana, where I come from.
No.
Natal.
No.
Transkei.
No. Not homelands. Homelands. Not homelands. Before that concept of fervoet or whatever, people were independent. There was a kingdom of the Xhosas, kingdom of the Zulus, these people were harmonizing in their existence. They knew and respected each other. That from that river to that mountain, Israel, from that one, whatever. So it can be a thought of a colonizer for them to come and divide us, and say Xhosas and Zulus. That why there was a war amongst black people? Why did Zulu people come and kill people here? Huh?
You know, there's an interesting phenomenon that is happening, Mkhulu. In the past 20 years, there was this notion of globalization. Open the borders. We are one world, one movement. But now the narrative has changed. It's about closing the borders. Nationalism. I mean, example, now you've got reasons of Europe breaking apart, the Great Britain breaking apart. Now, AfriForum, they say Western Cape must actually be independent from. Where is this coming from? Because before it was opening, but now everywhere, America is closing the border. Everyone is like they are closing their borders. Can we also attribute it to this shift of consciousness that is happening?
Oh, no, sure. This is what, is going to be the norm, nationalism.
Yeah.
We need to, promote the spirit of nationalism. Africa first. We need to adopt that. Look, it makes so much logic and sense. This is how China grew. China, when they got their independence, they revived that nationalism spirit. They closed all borders. Against foreign influence. For over 30 years, people in China were not consuming foreign, content. Why? Because the Chinese, they wanted to instill patriotism. To a point, Kuti, when a Chinese guy lands here, the first thing they ask, where's the Chinese restaurant? They will never ask, where's the quarter house? Do you understand?
Yeah.
That's the spirit that we're deprived of. 94 should have started that process, closing the borders, and chasing whoever that, we don't want in our country. The UN Charter says that if you are rebuilding, you have a right to chase whoever that will disturb your rebuilding, process.
And finally, Mkhulu, I'm told we need to wrap up.
Yeah.
Please give us a feedback on the sacred site that I know every year you go there to celebrate the New Year.
In
Nzalayenga.
Yes.
You were blocked last time. Okay, not last year. That other year, there was a clip that went viral that you were blocked. What are the developments? What is happening at Nzalayenga
Now we have 3-day exclusivity. On that place. There's now an agreement. So
all right. For those who may not know, Nzalayenga it's a sacred site. In fact, it is where Baba Credo was initiated as a Sanusi in 1937.
Yes.
Among also with the 14 other Sanusi. He was the youngest. He was only 16. And he said that is the holiest place in the planet. It's in Mpumalanga. So Mkhulu goes there every year for their
because it's along what is called the Golden Meridian. This is the electromagnetic field of Earth. It passes there. So during the New Year, 23rd of September, there's so much energy concentrated, resident in that. So that's why we go there to go and revive.
So are you allowed? You say now you are allowed?
Oh, no, we are allowed. We have a good relationship now with government. Even though we are not totally free, we're still fighting like last year. They gave us conditions. We boycotted going there. But we're in a park, just opposite, the side.
Yeah, the side.
We boycotted going in because we said we can never go to our ancestors under subjugation. We have the right to go in, but we are not going in until they remove the conditions.
Yeah. We give thanks, Mkhulu, and I'm happy that those sites must open more and more. We must have more access because our spirituality is associated, Tota. It's at the center of these places, are at the center of our spirituality, rituals, and everything.
This is where we revive and, recharge, get our power back to continue the struggle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mkhulu, it's always a great pleasure to sip from your cup of wisdom today.
Yes.
I picked your thoughts on different issues, and thank you for always being willing to talk to us.
Mkhulu
Nsingiza. Thank you very much.
Bonga.
That's how we come to the end of this episode. Please subscribe and be part of this community. That's the only way we can ensure that we give you the best possible content. My name is Semex. Amako.
Thokozini.